What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS game by game midday show. Early show, whatever you want to call it. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed above. Hopefully you guys had a good weekend. We got back with a new week the last week before the All-Star break. Not even a full week. I think Thursday is the last actual slate, and I think it's like a two-gamer or something like that. But we're going to make the most of it for this week. Looking forward to the break. Glad we have some XFL. I thought the XFL product was really good, and for considering that we didn't really know too much about how things were going to turn out, I thought that collectively we did pretty well. I know a lot of guys in our Slack chat did well. All our XFL content is free. The articles, we're going to make it free. So while you're away, we have some NHL stuff that's behind the paywall, but we do have NHL stuff for the All-Star break, and of course the XFL sweats on over the weekend. So it's lining up pretty good, man. I tell you what, with the movement of the sports gambling and fantasy sports and all that kind of stuff, I think this is a better time. I think we're going to see more leagues kind of try to pop up and all that kind of stuff because they now have the backing. Like the networks and the companies now understand the power of fantasy, of gambling. DraftKings partnered with XFL to make sure they can put their ads all over the place and all that kind of stuff. So it's an exciting time for sports in general, man. I do think that there's going to be some negativity that comes along with the changes, but there's also a lot of positivity. And like anything else, man, in life, you got to adapt. That's just it's the name of the game, right? Survival, adapting, all that good shit. What up, Kyle? What up, bro? With that said, I thought that last week we had a really good week at NBA. I think it was, what was it, Friday? I maxed they had a $4 donkey on DraftKings. We maxed that. That was obviously risky, but got close. Ended up walking away with like $1,500. So we profited. It was like $1,600. We profited about $1,000, but it was close, man. We had I had a lot of Melton that day. It got me like a 21. Just the wrong pivot. I mean, he did all right. I think that day there were a couple other people who went nuts, and then of course the next day, I got burned by blowouts, man. The blowouts have been killing me. The Minnesota, first it was Phoenix and Houston. Second of all, then the next day it was Minnesota Clippers, I think it was. The blowouts, man, been killing me. And I mean, one thing for the Clippers to blow up Minnesota, for Minnesota to blow up the Clippers, that was unexpected. With that said, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you don't miss out whenever we do go live or put out any kind of DFS content. We do a lot of DFS content here on this channel. We do it on Twitch, on Periscope. We're just everywhere doing our thing. Follow us on all the social media platforms. And like the video, guys. Likes go a long way. I know Paulie had said on the last live stream, I think it was Friday, that if we hit a certain number of likes, he would get a favor. We'll just put it that way. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll talk to him later for the Wise stream at 5 p.m. Eastern, which is our flagship show if you don't know. So make sure you go over there. That's why it's important that you subscribe. 5 p.m. Eastern tonight. We'll start off with the second game by game after we got some information. And we have some interesting things to talk about for this slate. And then we will move on to the second hour of the show. We'll bring on Paulie, take us down to lock. Make sure you guys are updated with all the information. Any news, all that kind of stuff. But we'll see. We'll see if Paulie was able to make it work. You guys were awesome. I think we hit 70 likes that day. Appreciate you guys. So if you get the like button as much as you can, it really goes a long way, helps us out. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this one. As far as slate size, it's one of the bigger ones, but it's not like terrible. It's 9 games, so it is big, but it's not like crazy. The first game, we've got the Atlanta Hawks visiting the Orlando Magic. We have a 220 total. It's down from 221. The Magic opened up -6. They're up to -8. I have a feeling that might have something to do with the overtime they went to last night. In terms of the schedule, this is a back end of a back-to-back for Atlanta. With travel, though it wasn't like major travel. They went from Atlanta to Orlando. It's a 4-6 stretch, so somewhat of a tough stretch in their schedule. And to make matters worse, they played a double overtime game against the Knicks last night. So a lot of these guys played some monster minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them not get the minute caps we're accustomed to. So obviously for now, I've projected most of them for what they normally play, or at least somewhat around it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit more of a balanced approach, especially if we get guys like Bembry coming back and some of these dudes that have missed or been limited, if they're available to go a little bit more, just because of how many minutes some of these guys played last night. I mean, it was a lot. Like Collins, I think, played like 40 something. It was wild. It was a pretty intense game, very low owned, and it is what it is, right? You looked at it, everybody felt like everybody seems kind of overpriced, and you go to 2 overtimes, and all of a sudden they're not so overpriced. But anyway, let's get into what we did with Atlanta so far. So Huerta's been playing big minutes. I think we got him at 36. Now, again, that's an example of me scaling back because he probably should be somewhere around 38 based off how he's been doing. Now, if Bembry comes back, if they get a little bit deeper, that could have some effect, obviously, because they do have guys they can play at the guard positions, like Jeff Teague, like Brandon Goodwin, guys they can work in if they do. And maybe they decide to rest somebody. We'll have to pay close attention to that situation. John Collins we have at 36, which I think is pretty fair for the standard. I know lately he's played a little bit more, but they did play Dedmon off the bench, so it looks like they have some centers. Bruno Fernando's been limited. They have Damian Jones, now they have Dedmon, so we're going to see him play a lot more 4, which is not a bad thing by any stretch. On FanDuel, his price is low enough to where we can, we're going to have to pay attention. Him and Huerta are both very cheap. On DraftKings, it's a reach, but you'll see that on DraftKings the pricing is kind of tight. It's kind of tightened up a little bit. There's not a ton of like underpriced plays, in my opinion. And you'll see according to the projections on the DraftKings. On FanDuel, you're going to continue to see soft pricing. You're going to continue to see guys projected for over 6x. On DraftKings today, it's a little fewer and far in between. DeAndre Hunter played like 40. I don't even know how many minutes he played last night. 40 something, and he balled out. He's been dealing with injuries lately, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was a candidate to see decreased minutes, so I put him at 34. So again, we'll have to revisit the situation. I'm a little reluctant to come here. Number one, Orlando plays very slow. I don't like the fact that they just play 2 overtime games, 4 and 6 back-to-back, so I'm not too big on Atlanta, and our projections aren't either. Hunter may be the one we have to fight off, but that might not be a problem. Just lower him by a minute or some, half a minute, and that should fix that. But I'm not saying you can't take anything from this game. But for me personally, as I'm considering there's 9 games, I got to think there's better spots, right? The Orlando side's a little more interesting because they're the ones getting paced up in this spot. They have had a day off, but they are still on a 4-6 stretch. But it's nice they're home, right? They're going to play Atlanta, who's a bad defense, and is going to pace them up. Evan Fournier is one of the stronger looking options. 5,800 on DraftKings, 56 on FanDuel. We have him for like 32.5 or 33, which is about pretty much where he's playing, sometimes a little bit more. Occasionally a little less, but we know what the usage looks like for him. We know he's going to take his shots. He's playing Orlando. Playing Atlanta. Nikola Vucevic is actually in a really good spot. Dedmon not a good defender. None of these guys equipped to cover him around the perimeter. Centers have traditionally done well against Atlanta. Vucevic's price is now elevated a little bit on DraftKings at 8-9. Again, DraftKings made the pricing a little stricter on some of these guys. Not on everybody. As you can see, Fournier's price seems kind of soft for the matchup. Aaron Gordon's price is kind of but we have some flexibility there. We could probably raise him a minute. He has been playing anywhere from 33 to 35, somewhere in that range. So we have some room to raise him. It's not going to help him a ton, but I'm curious how it ends up helping him relative to the slate. Because again, there's not a ton of people that project super strong on DraftKings. Terrence Ross has played minutes. He's very scoring dependent. That always makes me nervous. Markelle Fultz I'm okay with. But this could be the spot, man. He's like a defensive guy. He can rack up some steals. And he's playing a sloppy Atlanta team who could be even sloppier if they have tired legs based off the schedule. So Fultz is actually kind of interesting. I don't like his 6-1 price. That's going to make it hard for us to reach him. But we'll have to come back and check that situation. Or maybe do we settle for Michael Carter-Williams? His price is elevated. If he was in the 3s, I'd be down for that. At 4-6, I'm a little nervous about paying for a backup point guard whose minutes can go anywhere from 20 to 24. If he gets to 24 in this matchup, his point per minute average this year has been pretty solid. But that's a big if. We don't know. If Fultz is doing well, they may like to keep him in. So some question marks, but we'll come back later. But Fournier, Vooch, Gordon are the main 3, of course. Look at strong style. Next up, we have the Nets visiting the Pacers. Brooklyn. We have a 217.5 total. That's actually down from 220. I don't know what the hell these totals are dropping. The Pacers opened up -7. They're down to -6. In terms of schedule, 1-day rest for Brooklyn. Pacers have also had a day off. This is a 4-6 stretch for the Pacers, but they have had a day off. So Brooklyn a little bit more rested. But both teams were off yesterday. And you can see it, the pricing. I mean, with Brooklyn, it's tough because they rarely play guys over like 33 minutes. We have Dinwiddie for 33, LeVert at 31. I'll probably give those guys a little bit of an increase just because we have to factor in that Kyrie Irving is still out. But you can see that I'm going to have to increase a lot for them to really start popping because of their prices. Indiana is not a very fast-paced team. Typically, they've been a decent defensive team. But Karis LeVert's usage has been awesome. He's been balling. In their last game against Toronto, I think it was Toronto, they did show us that they can both have good games together. They could both go off together. It's just a pricing thing. And Dinwiddie at 7.9 on DraftKings and 7.5 on FanDuel as of right now aren't reflecting great. But again, I'll probably give them increases just based off of the situation. And the same thing with LeVert. I mean, LeVert's obviously the one we're more. LeVert on FanDuel is more than fair. 5.6 is way too cheap for the upside. We'll have to give him an increase, obviously, to reflect that. And we will. I'll probably give him a decent little increase. On DraftKings, though, we're still in that round. 7K, man. It's just hard to reach him. Jared Allen's minutes have been way down. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's getting like 18, 19, 20 if he's lucky. DeAndre Jordan got big minutes against Toronto, but before that he wasn't either. So I guess they are just going a little smaller at times. But the Nets continue to be kind of hard to project rotationally. That's just their deal. It's really LeVert and Dinwiddie. If you're willing to overpay for a game stack, do the thing. On FanDuel, I think LeVert is actually a strong play. I know he's only showing up at 5.3, but again, we still have to give him a little bit of a boost for the situation he's in. Maybe Taurean Prince is sneaky. Maybe Taurean Prince is ass. I mean, we'll have to wait and see for that one. But it's really Dinwiddie and Prince as your main options to consider, I think. The other players you work in, you got 150s and you work them in. But really nobody's projecting well right now. On the Pacers side, Brogdon looks decent again. In his last game, he only got like 31 minutes. It was a close game. Maybe that was a schedule thing. Maybe it was just the game flow. I'm not really sure. TJ Warren was back, so he played a lot of minutes. Maybe that has something to do with it. But we know Brogdon has the 40-point upside. And the ceiling is obviously a lot higher. So we know he can do it. He just hasn't done it in a while. And I know Oladipo's back. And, I don't know. But the matchup is great. We love point guards against Brooklyn. And Dinwiddie's not changing that. Right? So I do like Brogdon. We probably have some room to give him an increase. Before that last game where he got 31, he was getting like 34, 35. I know TJ Warren was out. But they did have Oladipo. I don't know. It's tough. I think Brogdon is obviously the standout, though. Miles Turner in a phenomenal spot, but he's just been terrible. I don't know what to say. Every time I look at Sabonis and he's expensive, and I think Sabonis is in a good spot, I'm thinking, I could settle with Turner, who's also in a good spot, and Turner just doesn't do it. I don't know, but centers against Brooklyn, historically, has been good. Relative to the slate, the projection is not bad. Oladipo for value is kind of interesting also. With Warren back, you expect him to play off the bench, but we know he's cleared to play up to 28 minutes. And 4,200 on DraftKings is really cheap for a guy like Victor Oladipo. We haven't seen it yet, I know, but he's going to have a real soft matchup on the defensive end. So I think Oladipo is kind of interesting for value. We'll analyze him a little bit later as well. Look into his projection and see if it's feasible. 5.3 on FanDuel. I'm not playing him over LeVert, right? But on DraftKings, LeVert is 7K, Oladipo is 4.2, so there's a little bit of room to work with. So Sabonis on FanDuel, I don't know why he's 7.8. He's really cheap on FanDuel. I mean, I know FanDuel's doing the soft pricing deal, but Brogdon and Sabonis look real strong on FanDuel. I still like Brogdon on DraftKings. I'm cool with Sabonis if you could reach him, but he's expensive. It's a phenomenal spot, though, for bigs. Phenomenal spot for bigs and point guards. Oladipo for value. We'll grade it out and see, how these things look, see what information we can find. We still got some news we need in other spots that are pretty important, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's actually questionable for personal matter. I'm with you. What is it? Tenelson 3 says, don't chase Hunter. I'm assuming you're talking about DeAndre Hunter, and I do not disagree. Right? I don't disagree. I wouldn't be surprised if he played less minutes today just for like monitoring purposes, because he just got back from an injury. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took it easy with some of these guys on Atlanta. All right, we're going to go on to the next game. We got the Charlotte Hornets and the Detroit Pistons. Where we at, Charlotte? All right. So Charlotte's working with a day off. Detroit's also had a day off. They're in the midst of a 4-6, but again, both teams working with a day off. On the Charlotte side, PJ Washington projected the best as of now. Maybe we have a minute to work with Devontae Graham. I usually put him at 36, so we have some room. He's not gonna like pop dramatically, but he did go off in his last game. Finally, he's been cold. Rozier's price a little more appealing. Maybe we can give him a minute too. Again, it's not gonna make a ton of difference, but on a slate where nobody really is projecting all that strong on DraftKings, it could make a difference. On FanDuel, it's interesting that none of these guys are projecting well. So of all the teams to like, I guess, I don't want to say that they made their prices strict, because 6.2 for Rozier is not bad. 6.8 for Graham is really not bad. I guess it's the spot, right? But yeah, I mean, every team so far, we've seen at least a couple guys on FanDuel projected for that 6x, not on Charlotte though. Everybody's projection kind of blah. Miles Bridges finally had a bad game, but I'm not gonna judge him or on that one game. He's looked really, really good. I know PJ Washington's back, and that was a big reason that I thought he was playing big minutes. But in the last game, minutes weren't an issue. He still played the minutes, so we'll keep an eye on that. But again, PJ Washington for value, kind of interesting, projecting to be the best so far. On the other side, we got Detroit. So they've been pretty good. I mean, Drummond's gone, right? So that's huge. And DraftKings has been a little slow to adjust the pricing. Well, they've adjusted it, just maybe not enough. Markieff Morris is probable to play today. He's missed the last couple games. John Henson wasn't supposed to. They said John Henson was available, but he wasn't going to play. And he played. They think he played like 18 minutes or something like that. He played well, though. He was on the court. So that's obviously going to affect like Thon Maker's minutes. It didn't affect Christian Wood's minutes, but Markieff Morris's presence could. I'm good with Christian Wood. I do like him today. On FanDuel at 8-1, I don't know. But on DraftKings at 7-2, like we can make it work. If the pricing was a little softer elsewhere, then I wouldn't be interested, because the pricing is strict pretty much across the board for the most part. I do think he's interesting against a Charlotte team that is not good against bigs. I'm also curious to see what the starting lineup looks like. Do they move Wood down to the 5? I would imagine if you have Henson and Thon Maker and you've been playing them, if they like how they've been playing, maybe not. But if Christian Wood were to start at the 5, it doesn't matter, 4 or 5. We love bigs against Charlotte. Power forwards, centers, any kind of big. Christian Wood's obviously that. So he would be my favorite from here. Bruce Brown, very inconsistent. He's likely to get big minutes because he has, but his usage rate is just not the best, right? You need him to be super efficient. He's not known as a scorer. He's going to take his shots and do his thing. He's not known as a scorer, though. On FanDuel at 4.5, it's definitely a little more easy to swallow. I mean, they're probably going to need him for his defense. Reggie Jackson's usage has been awesome, making him a solid tournament play. I'm probably a little conservative with his minutes at 32. Probably a little conservative. I think in the last game he didn't play a ton, but that was a back-to-back. So maybe he goes back to playing like 33, 34. So we'll come back and analyze it. The usage has been great. The pace of this game, I'm not anticipating to be phenomenal, right? Charlotte also plays very, very slow. In fact, this game has a 206 total, down from 208, and the Pistons are 3-point favorites. So I'm not coming here to look to get a bunch of anyone, but Reggie Jackson and Christian Wood's usage have been awesome. If Markieff Morris is 4K, if he were to start for whatever reason, I doubt it. I think they'll go Wood, Thon Maker again, and play Markieff off the bench. But if they were to start Markieff at 4K, he could end up being one of the stronger value plays against Charlotte. Let's move on. Oh, yeah. Shit. All right, we got Minnesota at Toronto. Minnesota coming off their big upset, dominant win over the Clippers. That was just wild. It's a wild world we live in. Minnesota's working with a day off. Toronto's also working with a day off. They're in the midst of a 4-6 stretch, but still enjoying a day off. D'Angelo Russell's questionable. We'll have to see if he plays. His price is extremely high on DraftKings. And they made him point guard only, which is kind of a bummer. On FanDuel 7-3, the price actually looks kind of soft. Karl Anthony Towns and D'Lo, if they run the pick and roll, they could be pretty damn good together. Now, obviously, D'Angelo Russell coming back. If he does start, we don't know if he's coming back, but if he does start today, make his debut for the Wolves, it's got to impact Beasley and some of these guys that have just been in that last game, but just willy-nilly shooting the ball, right? It's going to be a good thing for Cat, because Cat can use a point guard that can help getting the ball. The matchup for Cat's actually pretty good against Ibaka, considering that Gasol is still out. So D'Lo and Russell are actually interesting to me for tournaments. Again, D'Lo more so on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I don't know if I got reset at 8-7 today. But Karl Anthony Towns, we could. I know he's not projecting the greatest, but I think raw points might play a factor because of how low other people are projecting anyway. If D'Lo is out, then obviously Malik Beasley is interesting. We only have one sample to work with, but we would assume he's going to continue to be aggressive. Now, what happens if he's not shooting so well? Does he stay aggressive? I don't know. Juancho Hernan-Gomez could have his hands full in this type of matchup with guys like Siakam, but he's still cheap at 36. If D'Lo is out, I'll be interested in him for value. He's one of the softer priced players. How many minutes did he actually... I looked at it before, but I forgot. Juancho, he played 27 minutes against the Clippers, and that was a blowout type game. He had 5 fouls in that game, too, so maybe if he kept his hands to himself. Now, the foul trouble is not going to be any easier against Siakam if that's what he's tasked with. But there's some interesting spots here. It really depends on D'Lo. We need to know if he's in or not. But him being on Minnesota should really, really help Minnesota with the pick and roll as far as their offense goes. He ain't gonna help on defense. As far as shooting goes, he's gonna be the same player he always was. Some days when he's shooting great, he's got massive upside. There's gonna be days where he shoots so terribly that he had a floor you didn't know he had. But him and Cat are obviously the main two, assuming that they're in. And if D'Lo's out, then we can look at some of these ancillary pieces. Juancho Hernan-Gomez could be interesting regardless because he's cheap. I'm surprised I don't know. Maybe they elect to start James Johnson today or something like that. He's 3,400. So there's guys we got to keep an eye on, especially if D'Lo's out, because these guys did get run. We've only had one sample to work with, though. And this is basically a brand new team, right? Malik Beasley, James Johnson, Juancho Hernan-Gomez, Amari Spellman, Jordan McLaughlin's a two-way player from the G League. He hasn't played with these guys a ton. McLaughlin, by the way, has been balling. If D'Lo's out, we'll look at him. His price is up. On FanDuel, he's only 46, but the upside he showed, double-doubling, going for 24 actual points, we'll have to, again, come back and take a look at him. But this is like a new team for the whole part, so it's going to take us a while to kind of see how they do. It's going to take them a while to get used to each other. It's the bottom line. On the Toronto side, by the way, this game is a 228.5 total, which I believe is the highest on the slate right now. Yeah, it's the highest on the slate right now. 228.5. And Toronto are 10-point favorites. So the Toronto side of the ball, these guys should be getting paced up here, right? And at the very least, Minnesota has a terrible defense. Kyle Lowry's missed the last game. We'll see if he plays. He's questionable. If he's in, he's got a really good price. I mean, it's not as good as the 6-7 we got against the Pacers that day, but 7-3, 7-2 is not bad, especially on this type of slate. I have his minutes projected somewhat conservatively because of the injury. If he were to get ruled in, I'll most likely raise him. I mean, I think if he's playing, I think 35 minimum and upwards of like 36, 37, 38 because him and Van Fleet do play a ton. If he's out, then we could look at Van Fleet again. On FanDuel, you could look at Van Fleet regardless at 6-7. On DraftKings at 7-6. I'm not saying you can't play him, but I would obviously prefer it if Kyle Lowry was out for that situation. Van Fleet played a lot of minutes against. He got into foul trouble. He's still balled, but he didn't even get the minutes he should have gotten. Serge Ibaka, I'm good with on really both sides, man. I think the price is fair. On DraftKings, he seems really cheap. Now, he can have his hands full with Karl-Anthony Towns down low. We have to worry about foul trouble, all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, they're going to at least try because they're going to need a big for Karl-Anthony Towns. OG Anunoby's price has gotten really low. If there was like an injury that told me he was going to play more, I'd be a lot more interested. It's just he's been a little inconsistent with his production. And to be honest, I think his minutes have been a little in flux too. Take a look real quick. He played 29 minutes against Brooklyn. He just sucked. Had a 7.3% usage rate. That was without Lowry. Maybe Lowry being in helps him. Maybe you get more. I mean, Lowry ain't likely to shoot out much, right? But his floor is just. I mean, this dude played 28 minutes against the Pacers and went for 5. His floor is just crazy low. But he does have some steal upside, all that kind of shit. So. And he's against Minnesota, a team that does give up a lot of that and plays bad defense. So, if we're hurting for value enough, maybe we consider him. Terrence Davis's price has come up. If Lowry was ruled out, we would assume he's going to get another 30-plus minutes. He's played really well. He's earned this price increase. If Lowry's in, though, we're not really sure how many minutes he's actually going to get, assuming that everyone else is healthy around him, outside of Marc Gasol, of course. Going down from there, Siakam, I think, has a really soft matchup. We have some flexibility with his minutes. We have some room. We can give him another minute increase, which could actually help on this slate. The price is kind of up 8-3, 8-1, but matchup-wise, man, he's got a real soft matchup across the board, no matter who, he sees. So I think Siakam is very interesting today. The other guys, I'm not too interested. If you think that Chris Boucher was going to get into, I mean, if you think Ibaka's going to have his hands full getting into foul trouble, maybe you consider Boucher, but I don't think Boucher would out much better in terms of defending Cat, so foul trouble could be an issue for him too. They could elect to just try to put Siakam on him, who's one of their better defenders, so that's an option they have too. This Matt Thomas kid played really well yesterday. I think he was just hyper efficient. Obviously, Lowry was out, which led to him playing a little bit more. He played 22 minutes, went for 31 DraftKings points, 10.5x at min price. He was 6 for 9 from the field, 3 for 4 from threes, 3 steals, 6 rebounds, and an assist. I wouldn't bank on that, especially if Lowry's in. But I did think that was interesting because as I was sitting there, I had Terrence Davis and Van Fleet like a shit ton. I had like 100% Terrence Davis, like 60% or 40% Van Fleet. They both play well, but I remember sweating. They're like, why aren't they in the game? Neither of them are in the game. I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's because he was in there tearing it up. So I couldn't even be that upset because you understand that. Let me pop on the chat real quick. See, yeah. Dropping the dirty all about Ibaka tonight. You like that, huh? You like Ibaka tonight? What is going to dominate this team? I agree. Only guy I like more than Wancho for value is Diallo if Aiden sits. Yeah. Definitely a situation we'll have to come back and confirm. We'll get to that game shortly, but DeAndre Aiden is questionable. We'll get to that game soon. I don't think we have a ton left. Guys, if you haven't hit the like button already, please hit the like button. Really helps us out. Goes a long way. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with me while we go over this slate for the midday. Hit that like button. Helps us out. Allows us to continue to do free content. Let's see. Let's go to Sacramento. Okay, this is an interesting spot. Sacramento at Milwaukee. Where we at, Sac? Oh, shit. All right, then, shit. All right, Sacramento. We have a 227 total. The Bucks opened up as 14-point favorites. They're now 11-point favorites. Giannis Antetokounmpo is questionable. Both teams have had a day off, right? Giannis is questionable. It said personal. I think his girl is is due soon, like any day now. So it's a possibility that they have the kid. So that's why he's questionable. So he's actually truly questionable, and it's nothing to do with injury. Looks like we got an update that D'Angelo Russell remains questionable. That helps no one. Anyway, this is an interesting spot for the Kings. The Kings are one of the teams that projected the best for me. As you can see, they're being paced up. Their prices are really soft, especially De'Aaron Fox, who's 7,600 on FanDuel and 75 on DraftKings. I know if you look at his game scores and look at what he's done recently, you might think to yourself, I don't think he's underpriced. He's been inconsistent. But when you consider his projection, his point per minute average, he's too cheap. He shouldn't be this cheap, especially not in a game against a team that's going to pace him up. Now, Milwaukee's very good. There's obviously a good chance of a blowout. But if Giannis is out, maybe it's not as strong of a chance. I don't know. I mean, the Kings are not a good team. Milwaukee is, in my opinion, the best team in the East. So it's not great. But these guys are cheap enough. Maybe they hit their prices before it even gets to that point, if it ever does. So we'll start off. I mentioned De'Aaron Fox. He'd be my favorite. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate as of now. It might be a fish move. Maybe he'll be popular. But, I mean, it's hard not to like him. Bogdanovich coming off of a shitty game, but his price is too cheap. 5K, 4.8. Assuming he gets 30 minutes and starts, and at times we've seen them close. They've had to play small because Holmes is out. They got rid of Dedmon. Giles last game was the first time they played Giles. I think he ended up getting like big minutes. I think, which is interesting. Something to take note of. Now, Jabari Parker could be available. They said he was going to miss at least 2 games. He already missed those 2 games. They only had a day in between, so between those 2 games and now, so he I think he's going to miss again. I don't see why they would bring him back before the All-Star break at this point. But maybe they do. If he does, they have another big to work with, and we'll have to adjust Bielitsa's minutes and take a look at Giles. But assuming that Jabari is out again, Giles played 27 minutes against the Spurs last game. He was 2 points shy of a double-double. Would have basically been close to 10x in his price at that point. So that game did blow out. They won at 122 to 102, and it got real ugly in the fourth. So I think it was more about Walton trying to give his main guys, some rest, and because De'Aaron Fox only played like 26 minutes. So I think that was a game that they were just comfortably in control, and they were just trying to rest their guys. So I think that Bielitsa, who has played the 5, they've started Giles at the 5. They'll pull Bielitsa after about 5 minutes. They'll bring him in back usually at the very end of the first quarter, and from then on, he plays a lot of center. when he's out there without Giles. At some point, they bring in the second half. Giles comes back in. Last night, he played more in the fourth because they were blowing him out. They weren't in a rush to bring these guys back in. But Bielitsa, even in that scenario, Bielitsa still got Bjelica 32 minutes in that scenario. And he had 4 fouls. He came out of the game in the fourth, which did lead to him getting more minutes. Now, that's an issue with Bielitsa playing a 5. That's the second game in a row that he had high fouls. 4 fouls, 5 fouls. But against Miami, he played 37 minutes because he played some center. So the price is up now. He got 35-5, 35 over his last 2 DraftKings games. At this point, you need the 36. But assuming, again, he played 32 minutes and went for 35. Assuming he would have gotten the minutes he should have in a close game. And again, maybe this game isn't close, but I think he'll be active. And if Giannis is off the court, Milwaukee's not so great against bigs anymore. Not that Bielitsa is some monster big, but they're not intimidating. Right? Giannis is the rim protector. Don't get me wrong, Brolo's going to block some shots, but Brolo comes creeping. When everybody's looking over their shoulder for Giannis, Brolo comes creeping with his big ass blah. You know what I mean? Like, he is a good shot blocker, but obviously he's not the most agile, and he can be shook. Maybe not by Bielitsa, but point being, a lot of guys in this team are cheap. Buddy Hield, this is a team that entices you to shoot 3-pointers. Buddy Hield, one of the better ones, and he's played 2 really good games. He's coming off the bench, and his usage has been massive. When the game's on the line, he has been closing a lot of times on the court with Fox and Bogdanovich. Harrison Barnes had a really good game last time out. He plays big minutes normally, but the usage isn't great. Kent Bazemore has actually played better. It looks like he's having a good time over there. He's got a little bit of a bigger role in the second unit, and he's played well, but we'll have to see. We need some people out for that one. So again, we'll have to revisit for Giles, Bielitsa, and if Jabari's in, all that kind of stuff. We have to at least consider, see what we can find. But in the meantime, right now, man, you can see the Kings: Bogdanovich, Fox, Bielitsa. Healed a little behind on DraftKings because his price is elevated. But the other guys, man, like those other 3 dudes look way too cheap. They're one of the only ones who project that high. So I anticipate getting a lot of Sacramento as of now, but again, we'll have to see what things look like later. If Giannis is ruled in, obviously Milwaukee just blows guys out, but we have him in for 32 minutes at the time. If the game gets real tight, maybe he gets 33, but for the most part, if it's a blowout, he may only get 30, 29, but it doesn't matter. He's such a high-per-minute freak. He's just such a beast when he's out there. You don't ever want to count him out, right? If he's out, we'll give Middleton a boost. Middleton on FanDuel would be real strong. DraftKings, I don't care if he's 7-9. I would still do it. If he's out against the Kings, a soft defense. Same thing goes for Bledsoe. Bledsoe a little more affordable on both sides. If Giannis is out, I'll load up. I got no problems doing that. That's the usual. Obviously, we'll play Ilyasova, who's 3,200. We'd have the value we need. DiVincenzo is a decent value play regardless on a slate where there's not a ton of strong value. We know George Hill is once again out, so I expect DiVincenzo to get around anywhere from 23 to 25 minutes today. His prices are low. He's been playing well, especially if Giannis is out. He might play a bigger role. So we'll want to revisit it. Brook Lopez in a pretty good spot. I just got done talking all that shit about him on the defensive end, but as far as the spot he's in, same thing for Sacramento. They don't have a big. He's significantly bigger than Bielitsa, so that shouldn't be an issue. So he's already interesting, and if Giannis were to get ruled out, he'd be even more interesting because we'd raise his minutes. But Illy would be Illy, Bledsoe, Middleton, and then maybe DiVincenzo would be the main targets, of course. But really, Bledsoe, Middleton, and Ilyasova. Illy, that boy Illy, he's sick with it. All over Depot. I feel you, Artful Dodger. All over Depot. I feel you. Let's go on to the next game. But so the Kings, a team to pay attention to. They're projecting really well. Utah and Dallas. We'll be working with back end of a back-to-back for Utah. They played the Rockets last night. It's a 4-6 stretch with some travel. Didn't travel a ton from Houston to Dallas. Dallas working with a day off, but they are on a 4-6 stretch. Porzingis did not play in their last game. We've got a 219.5 total down from 220. The Jazz are 1-point favorites on the road. Joe Ingles projecting okay. Not a guy I'm ever excited to play when everybody's healthy. Mike Conley's been playing really well. You could take a minute to notice that. In the beginning, I was really getting on him earlier when he went to Utah this year because he just looked terrible. He didn't look good. Didn't look like he was just kind of letting everybody else do stuff or wasn't getting involved. Maybe he was hurt because ever since he's been back, he's been really, really aggressive. And I think the price is still fine. Jordan Clarkson went nuts last night, played 29 minutes. He's going to be a guy that's just tough to project because you don't know how many minutes he's playing. The game before, they played like 20. He played like 20 for 2 straight games, and he got 29 last night. It's just a hot hand thing. Against the Rockets, it is a good matchup for a guy like Clarkson when you're just exchanging shots and things like that. Donovan Mitchell, Conley being back seems to have been affecting his production. He's getting close to hitting value, but he's not quite giving us that GPP value. Dallas is a team that has struggled against wings. But I don't know. Obviously, we know he's mostly scoring dependent when everybody's healthy, and that could be an issue. He's going to take a lot of shots, but that makes me nervous. Rudy Gobert, I don't mind, but Dallas, not that they're like intimidatingly big because they don't have like massive defenders that are big, but they have big players. Maxi Kleber, Kristaps Porzingis, Willie Cauley-Stein. They have big actual players. They have human beings who are tall, right? They got Boban if they really want to get dirty with it, but Gobert just hasn't been as aggressive as I'd like. But he's fine. But I think Conley's my favorite, actually. Bojan Bogdanovic, I don't mind. He's just very scoring dependent. It makes me nervous. But when he gets hot, man, we've seen him go for 40 with just straight points. Like no peripherals, pretty crazy. Utah, not a team at the very top of my list or anything like that. But I do think Conley's kind of interesting. On the Dallas end, with Porzingis back, we obviously want to consider him. On FanDuel, he's $9K. On DraftKings at $8,400, the price is up, but within reach. We got to see how, in the game, his first game back from that broken nose, well, he didn't miss any time, but his first game with that broken nose, he ended up getting like 5 fouls in 20 minutes and didn't play much at all. And so the next day he sat. Maybe now he's good. I don't know. Maybe did he get the 5 fouls because of the situation? I think they were playing Washington, so it seemed like a really good matchup on paper, but fine tournament play at the very least against Utah. Not worried about that. The usage is there. I feel better about them being home than I would have if they were on the road. So Porzingis, someone will have to keep in mind for tournaments. Tim Hardaway Jr. is projecting fairly well. He's just going to be, when he's shooting well, he's going to be fine. If he's not, you're in for a long night. That's just what it is with him. On FanDuel, he remains underpriced, though, at 48. Jalen Brunson on FanDuel, I don't mind. On DraftKings at 5.7, man, I'm tempted. I just got a thing for Brunson. I think when Porzingis is off the court and Luka's off the court, he balls, man. I played him a few times and he got me some 40s. Played him against Atlanta. It was beautiful, and I've avoided him the last couple games, and it's been good. So he's been good to me in general. On DraftKings, doesn't look like I'm really gonna get there. On FanDuel, it looks like I probably would get there at least a little. I know he's 6.13, but FanDuel is a lot of guys that project for 6. Dorian Finney-Smith on FanDuel, very cheap. On DraftKings, probably not. Seth Curry coming off an awesome game. He actually shows one of the higher usage increases when Porzingis and Luka are off the court. He's more likely to shoot more. He's still, the minutes are still going to be, it's actually 26.5 we have him projected for, not 27, but, it is what it is. He's obviously a turnaround option. 5.5 on DraftKings, kind of a stretch, but, I didn't play Fourcan Korkmaz on either of those 2 nights that he balled out. So what do I know at the end of the day, right? Fourcan the GOAT. That shit was crazy. The way he's playing right now. But, I'm just not going to, process-wise, I'm not going to chase shit like that, And I'd be more likely to play Curry if guys were out. But with guys in, just, nothing strong, nothing phenomenal. You know what I mean? Let's go on to the next game. We've got San Antonio Spurs. We got 3 games left. San Antonio Spurs and the Denver Nuggets. Spurs doing dirties. We've got a 218.5 total, down 3 points from 221.5. Denver opened up -7. -7.5. And now the -7. So San Antonio's had a day off. They do have a game tomorrow, so they're on the front end of a back-to-back. Denver's had a day off. They're kind of just chilling, doing their thing. I think they played a good game against Phoenix. So on the Spurs side, a similar story, man. The prices are just kind of up. LMA's price is kind of flirting with, he's close to being a decent option. I think we have him at 33.5. So moving to 34 straight up looks a little better, but you're still a little nervous playing the Magician at 7-something K. When he's been in the 6Ks recently, it's been beautiful. DeJounte Murray, coming off an awesome game, just, again, reluctant to give him the proper minutes he needs. If we projected him for, even 28 minutes a day, he'd be popping at this price. But projecting him for 26, really 25.5 is what we have him as. And we can't really, confidently raise him because we don't know if when he's going to get the minutes. DeRozan's price is kind of elevated. Denver's typically got good wing defenders. They do have Gary Harris back. They got Torrey Craig. They got some of these pieces. So I'm okay with him for tournaments because there's not a ton of options that I do love, but I'm not particularly like going backflips to play him either. Patty Mills for value. If you were trying to force the value to get into studs and go stars and scrubs today, I don't mind it. The minutes have been a little down lately for him, but he just had a little stretch where he was playing good minutes, somewhere like 24, and he's pretty aggressive when he is on the court in terms of shooting and getting assists. Like he tries to run when he's on the court, so I'm not opposed to it. There's not a ton though from the Spurs that I'm interested in. I say this about a lot, right? But evidently I'm gonna have to play somebody, so we'll see. The Kings were looking the most attractive to me at the time. On the Denver side, Gary Harris and Torrey Craig are both value options we can consider. They've been playing big minutes. Neither of them are massive usage players generally, but they've both shown upside in their careers. Paul Millsap came off the bench and played 18 minutes and balled the fuck out. So he's somebody we can keep an eye on. If he's going to be on the second unit, he's pretty much got all that usage to himself. And like he's got some guys like Jordan McRae who he can play that little man game with on the second unit. So if he's not starting, I'm a little more interested than if he was. Same thing goes for Jokic. If Millsap's in, I'm a little less interested in Jokic. I do think Millsap and Jokic playing together does affect Jokic's usage, rebounds, all that shit. But if Millsap goes back to the bench and comes off the bench, then I could definitely do Jokic. This is a good matchup for centers. So even if Millsap plays, we may have to force ourselves to like him a little bit more. Jokic's minutes were down against the Suns in a smash spot, and I think it was because Millsap was back. They've been playing him so many minutes that, if you don't have to play him 37, 38, you're not gonna. You don't want to do that in a regular season if you're the coach. If you're a fantasy player, you're begging the coaches to do that, Ben. Jamal Murray's played extremely well. It didn't take long for his price to come up. He's been playing extremely well. Will Barton is out, just to be clear, which is why you see Torrey Craig projected and Gary Harris for so many minutes. So with Will Barton out, I would expect the usage on the first unit to be concentrated around Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. If Millsap plays, maybe he sees a boost as well. But Barton's a high usage player, takes a lot of shots. Him being out does make an impact. So, again, Torrey Craig for value. He's there if we need him. Jordan McRae, if I thought he was going to get more minutes, I like McRae, man. He's really worked his way into this league. And, from a G League player nobody wanted to now a serviceable bench guy. And when I say that, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean like a serviceable bench guy, a guy you can bring off the bench that will play well, will take shots, is good at shooting, good at scoring. And then if you have an injury, a guy that could step in and continue that role. So I do like that. But the Denver side, we'll have to see. But Jamal Murray, Jokic, keep that in mind. Will Barton's out. We may have to come revisit them and make some tweaks to their adjustments to give us more to reflect the fact that he's out. It's not just 31 minutes. It's not just 34 minutes or whatever we have for Murray. It's that plus the fact that Will Barton is now out. So his usage is going to be higher. See what I'm saying? Dirties. That's how we do it. Next up, we've got the Miami Heat visiting the Golden State Warriors. We've got a 219.5 total. We don't have a spread anymore. Oh, no, we do have a spread now. Okay. We didn't have an opening line. I guess they were waiting for some of the news. We've got a 219.5 total. Miami is on the back end of a back-to-back in a 4-6 stretch. They've been on this West Coast road trip thing for a little bit now. They played the Lakers, the Kings. I think it was Lakers. Maybe not the Lakers. I know they played the Kings, and they've been out there. Portland last night. They've been out in the West. I don't know. Golden State's had a day off. So Jimmy Buckets is still questionable today. He's missed the last couple games. I'm assuming he's not going to play. I saw the injury where he got hurt. He did a bullshit foul and in the process pulled his shoulder. I don't know. They're playing Golden State, so you would think this is a game maybe they don't need him. But Miami, I'm not going to lie. Miami's looked like shit without Butler, and they've been losing. Without Butler, they have not looked very good. They need that kind of that go-to dude in the clutch or at least someone to kind of take charge, and they haven't looked great. If Butler's in, I think he's underpriced. If Butler is really in, if they say he's actually playing, he is underpriced at 7,900 on this slate. Maybe if we had softer pricing, I wouldn't be saying it. But the way the pricing looks now, I would be interested. If he's in, we're gonna like Nunn a little bit less. Not that we like him a ton at this price, but I have his minutes kind of conservative, so I'd raise Nunn's minutes if Butler was out. Dragic's minutes, they're probably a little aggressive if Butler's in. He's played really well, but if Butler's in, that's going to affect his usage. Bam Adebayo is in a smash spot. I could probably raise his minutes a little bit to 36. He's in a really good situation against Golden State, who has just been awful against centers. Duncan Robinson's been playing monster minutes, but Tyler Hero could be back. If Tyler Hero is back, that's going to affect Duncan Robinson's minutes. The main reason Robinson's been playing a ton is because they need that three-point shooter on the court. And Tyler Hero's their back is their second option for that. So if Hero's back, I think that will affect Robinson's minutes. I think Robinson still play 30s plus. He's just not going to get the 40 or 38 he's been getting before. Derrick Jones Jr., if Butler is in, is going to get affected for sure. I'm not sure where Crowder fits into all this. He played really well in his debut game for Portland last night. Came off the bench, ended up playing like 30 minutes and played extremely well. Obviously, I would assume if Butler were back, that would affect him, but it could have more impact on guys like Kelly Olynyk, who's in that Myers-Leonard role. He's starting as the big at the 4 or the 5, whatever you want to call it. And then kind of like Giles, they pull him out quickly, and he doesn't get like regular starters run right now. So that could have some impact. But again, a game we're going to want to revisit later. Hopefully we have some indication on if he's playing or not. They got Butler listed as a point guard on DraftKings. Oh, shit. I didn't realize that. That kind of sucks. I like the small forward eligibility. I did like that. But again, a situation we'll want to revisit. But there should be some stuff here that we might want to grab, being that it's Golden State, a team who does not play very good defense at the moment. And I think it's only like a 6-point spread. I mean, Miami's been bad. So on the Golden State side, they continue to not have a ton of players on their roster. You can see how little of a player pool like they have as a team with the injuries, but oddly enough, they're still finding ways to play everybody pretty even minutes. Like they're splitting shit up, and it's weird. But Kai Bowman got 29 minutes last time out on FanDuel. Still a very good value play on DraftKings. It's a little up. Draymond Green missed the last game, so if Draymond plays, I do think that could affect. I feel like I'm missing somebody here. Let me see something real quick. I mean, they've been like this for a couple of days since the trade deadline, but okay, yeah, Norvell. I'm missing Norvell on the sheet. Okay. Yeah, Norvell projected for around 13.5 minutes. I have the projection set. I just didn't actually transfer it to the paper, so that's something I'll take care of afterwards. Or you know what it is? I think FanDuel doesn't have him in the pool. I think that's what fucked my sheet up. I'm gonna have to switch to make DraftKings the primary sheet, but yeah, FanDuel, I'm pretty sure, doesn't have him in the pool. Anyway, Norvell, another option. Oh, here's the other guy that I have to add in here. Juan Toscano Anderson. He actually played a good amount. He made his debut. I got a notification that he was making his debut, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And here he is, Juan Toscano Anderson. He played 19 minutes, had a 15% usage rate, went for 11.75. So if Draymond's here, guys like him probably get the boot in the rotation. And as you can see, the reason... Oh, no, we have him in here. Okay, we do have him in here. We have him projected for 6 minutes, and that's only because if Draymond's back, there's not a ton of room. What was interesting is Damian Lee's minutes were down, right? Like we thought they would go up with Burks gone. They actually went down. I mean, maybe he just wasn't playing well. Marquise Chris looked really good against the Lakers. He had a really good game. And him and Kai Bowman had a really nice little pick and roll game going on. I think the first 10 points Marquise Chris scored was on alley-oops from Bowman. Again, with Bowman, I'm fine with him for value. The only issue is if Draymond's in, they could use him at point guard more, which could leave us in a weird place. But I'm cool with Bowman, even at this price. I think that situationally they pulled him last game because they needed some shooting, and Bowman wasn't shooting great. But you know who played really well was Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole played really well. He didn't get the minutes I thought he would get. I thought he would get more than what he got. But even with the limited minutes, I think he did close. But even with the limited minutes, I mean, he was really efficient, 8 for 12 from the field. But 23 minutes, 23% usage rate. Against Brooklyn, he had a 29% usage rate. That game also was a blowout, so he was able to go out there. Not also, the Lakers game was close. But they're just thin enough, man. I think that we can consider these guys more. And the issue, of course, is Miami plays extremely slow. They're just never fun to attack. They play really, really slow. But probably some stuff we could revisit. Hopefully we get more news. The issue, again, even though even Wiggins, who they went out there and got, it was a close game, and Wiggins played 32 minutes or 31 minutes or something like that. So obviously winning is not their objective. They're trying to get these guys time and see who plays well together, all that kind of stuff. But interesting enough. Couple more. What's up, William? What's up, bro? What's up? Yeah, Tenelson says if Hero is back, Robinson is probably a sneaky option for GPPs for that reason. I mean, sure. I mean, yeah, he's going to be... people are going to bail on him, absolutely. He's also very scoring dependent. Played a lot of minutes last night. Got to worry about tired legs. But as far as the game theory aspect of what you're saying, yeah, I do think his ownership will be... people will bail if Hero's... I mean, even if Butler's available, they may bail, right? Because his price is now elevated. It's a good point. Hit that like button if you haven't already, Nation. Appreciate you. Let's keep things rolling. We've got last game here. We got the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. So we've got a 228 total down from 229. The Lakers opened up minus 11.5. They're up to minus 12.5. The Suns have had a day off. The Lakers have had a day off. The Suns are in the midst of a 4-6 stretch, but they have had a day off. Is that a Q? It is a Q. Anyway, so for the Suns, I mean, this is like one of the better. If the Suns are able to keep this game close, this could be a really great game. It's got one of the higher totals on the board. I think Devin Booker's got some flexibility in his price. Here's the deal. DeAndre Ayton is questionable. I think he sprained his ankle. Ayton's been playing some like ridiculously high amounts of minutes, like just monster minutes. On the other end, Aaron Baines, Kaminsky, Dario Saric, they've all been out. If Baines is, I think, the closest to coming back, so we'll keep an eye on that. That would obviously make Ayton not as strong of a play. But if he's out, if Baines is out and Ayton are out, then I forgot who said it in the chat. To Nelson, that was you. To his credit, if Ayton is out, I would think that Czech Diallo would be interesting because I would think they'd have to play him at the very least off the bench, right? They just don't have the bodies. And they're playing a Lakers team that is very big, so they're going to want some bigs. So he could be an interesting value play. If Ayton is in, his price is extremely expensive. Normally, I don't like to attack the Lakers with bigs, but Marquise Chris kind of impressed me. And if Ayton plays, the closer this game stays, Ayton might play the entire game. You know what I mean? I can see a scenario he plays the entire damn game. Let's see. Ayton played 42 minutes against Denver. 42 minutes. He sprained his ankle in that game. He had 5 fouls. He sprained his ankle in that game. And then ended up coming back in the game, finished the game. But I guess it got worse the next day. It blew up on him. And this was the 8th, so this was 2 days ago, so Saturday. So we'll see. We'll have to see if he plays or not. If he's in, I'm a little nervous about the ankle injury. But that's going to keep that, the price, the fact that they're huge underdogs, all that kind of stuff is going to make him lower owned. So he's interesting to consider. Now, Devin Booker's price I like a lot. As of right now, I'm in a position to get a lot of him on DraftKings. Ricky Rubio, kind of an enigma. I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know if he's hurt or if his team had a conversation and said, bro, you got to let Booker do more. But he's just not nearly been as active. He's looked bad. I mean, straight up. I mean, I don't know. He looked really strong to start the season. That's why he's always projecting well. But listen to these game logs. 14, 16, 21, 27, 24, 14, 26, 22. And then against Denver that game, he had a 29. I don't know what it is, man. The usage was up a little bit against Denver, 23.3. But his usage rate in general has been down. And there's been times where the minutes have been down because of it. This is a guy that went for 35 DraftKings points against the Knicks in 35 minutes. I'm sorry, he went for 65 DraftKings points against the Knicks. He went for 43 against Orlando. In the beginning of the season, man, it was like every day Rubio was just smashing. It looked like he was great, and he's just been in this funk. His price is too low for his upside. It's just at the moment he's been bad. He projects really well, so we're going to have to make a decision on to fight him down by lowering his projection a little bit to get him out of our life, or to make a decision to say, hey, man, we're going to have to play this guy, get him out, because he's one of the better projected plays on the slate. And then the question becomes, do you want to play him with Booker? I think in a game stack scenario where you're hoping this game is close, then sure, because you're going to need multiple people to do well. Like if Booker's the only one having a good game, you got a problem. The Lakers are probably going to beat the shit out of Phoenix, right? So you kind of need it. Kelly Oubre, 7'3", 6'7" on FanDuel. I love Kelly Oubre. On DraftKings at 7'3", I still like him. But we have to revisit. And we're going to have to make a change to his projection if we want him, or decide that maybe 7'3" is a little too expensive. He plays monster minutes. He could play 40 minutes. If this game stays close, all these guys, if this game stays close, they'll play Booker, Oubre, and Ayton like 40 minutes if they have to. So that's why for tournaments, it is such a good spot. On the downside, there's a good likelihood that the Lakers do beat them up. Lakers are very good. They're at home. They're a big team, and that's the biggest weakness that Phoenix has. So we'll see. The Phoenix side of the ball looking a little more attractive at this point, though, when you consider pricing and lack of bodies. On the Lakers side of the ball, I think that Anthony Davis would be my first choice. He's probably my favorite stud. I know we'd have to change his projection a bit. I'm worried about the blowout, but Matchup wise, man, he's a matchup nightmare for these guys. If they try to put Oubre on him, they're going to be in trouble. They try to put Aiden on him, they're going to be in trouble. No matter what they put on him, the Phoenix can't stop bigs. Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee would also stand to be in good matchups, but their minutes have been down. They've been trying. It looks like they've been working in Kuzma a little bit more. Who I'm cool with Kuzma. It's just hard to project him for 30 when you know he's playing anywhere from 20 to 30, and mostly in the 22 to 24 range. There's ancillary pieces on the Lakers: Avery Bradley, KCP, Danny Green. If you want to guess which one you think is going to have the big day, you could do that. For me, with the Lakers, it's pretty much always either the centers, McGee, Howard, or of course the studs, AD, LeBron. I prefer AD today. I'll probably do something to jack his projection up to make sure that we get a little more of him. But that's going to do it, man. So it wasn't like the 9 games is cool. I don't mind that. But the games we have are weird. The matchups we have are weird. The better games look mismatched in terms of blowouts. The closer games look kind of shitty in terms of pace and pricing and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a weird slate. As we get the news, as always, I adjust these projections. If you want to use these projections by the end of the day, I adjust them all throughout the day. So you want to get them as late as possible. You can download them at WiseTake.com with the WiseTake Nation membership. We have day passes available, all that stuff. You could download them. You could upload them into whatever optimizer you use. And you can have a little WiseTake Nation flavor. Otherwise, we have the regular content coming. My core plays article will be out later. Paulie D's cheat sheet, Cam's cheat sheet for FanDuel. The cash game articles by Stevie today. So the usual business over at WiseTake.com. Other than that, make sure you subscribe because we'll be back here at 5 o'clock. We'll do another game by game and look at what's changed from now till then. And then, of course, in the second half of the show, it's all about game theory, all about building our teams and, trying to keep track of injury news to make sure you guys are updated. So we'll catch you back later, at the very least, for the NBA Wise stream. If you're a member of the WiseTake Nation, maybe I'll catch you in Slack if we have some time. Hit that like button for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation. As always, good luck.